cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Customer, clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like a cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change them. I never switched up. Been down since day one. Straight social. People change them.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of DBT Live. Thanks for tuning in. Have a special show tonight. We are talking to some very important women, and our subject matter is motherhood. So let's bring in our guest. I have Stacey Ivy. Do we have her? There she is. Hi, Stacey.
Hello.
Stacey.
Hello, Stefania. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
I'm so happy to have you. Stacey and I have done her radio show together. She's a radio show on KPEO that we have done together. And so I know Stacey from that and from her husband being on this show. But introduce yourself, Stacey.
Yes, so I am Stacey Ivy. Yes, I'm married to Marcus Ivy, DBT, one of the DBT founders, former teacher, mom of 3, community advocate. I'm currently doing mentoring and youth education support right now. So that's and basketball coach too. So lots of things.
Yeah, you can't forget that. Women's basketball coach, correct?
Yes.
Nice, love it. We also have Ronye Cox. Do we have Ronye? She with us in the studio. There she is. Hi, Ronye.
I'm here. Hi. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming on. Another founder's wife. Introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Ronye Cox now. I am married to Kevin Cox. I'm a school psychologist. I have a tax business. I have a life insurance agency that I just started. I have 3 girls, expecting 1 boy, and I have 2 bonus sons. And basically just promoting a reign lifestyle overall, just to be reigning over your own kingdom, to have control over your own kingdom. So that's pretty much the premise of what I do and why. Overall wellness.
I love it. You and Kevin are like the Brady Bunch, the modern Brady Bunch, literally 3 boys, 3 girls.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's amazing that
we love it. It's going to get crazy.
Right? It's amazing that I have both of these beautiful women on here today. Both of them are in education, but we are talking about the subject of motherhood. And I find it fascinating that you've got 3 girls, child psychologists. How is it growing up in your home? Of course, you can't give the opinion from your child's perspective. What are their ages?
The oldest one just turned 18 last week. The middle one just turned 10 the week before that. And the baby will be 9 in July. And I'm expecting in a couple of weeks now.
I need to have the children on so they can see what it's like to grow up with a psychiatrist as a mommy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? Stacey, how old are you?
A lot of talking.
Yeah, I bet. Right? Stacey, how old are you?
Well, and all girls, I'm sure. Like that's a whole nother story because you got a house full of girls too. So
yeah.
Stacey, you have 2 boys and a girl, correct?
I do, yes. So our oldest is 20. He'll be 21 in May, and then our middle daughter is 18. Yeah, 18. And then our youngest is 16. So
nice.
Couple more years and they're all gone.
Right? Almost an empty nester.
But it's a sad kind of thing too. Like it's one of those love-hate kind of relationships with our kids growing up. Like we want them to grow up and we're so eager to, have them start walking and talking. And now it's like, oh, they're out of the house,
Yeah. Right.
It's like we want it, but we don't want it at the same time.
Let's talk about that. So from conception, carrying the babies and, walking around with our bellies full, Ronye, or you and in a good spot right now? Do you like being pregnant?
You know what? It's bittersweet. I think at this point I'm kind of ready. Like I'm full enough. I can't get any bigger. I'm just ready to go ahead and deliver. At the same time, I'm in love with the emotion of it. Just it's just like I'm about to give life again.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's like a beautiful roller coaster.
Really?
Um,
Do you feel
yeah, you're
different with this one?
constantly thinking. I'm sorry.
Do you feel different with this one than your girls when you're pregnant?
Way completely different. I haven't given birth in a decade. I'm a lot older. I have businesses this time.
Mhm.
I have degrees this time. Totally different world. COVID. This is a COVID baby, so to
Yeah.
speak. Um, it is totally different, and I'm on more of a natural path. Midwives, doula, things like that. So this is a completely different. This is a completely different pregnancy for me.
Right. Stacey, do you remember those times? I mean, I know you do. We never forget. It's like it was yesterday. How was your pregnancy? And then from the first one to the last one, did you graduate from doctor to midwife to doulas and things like that?
I have to go back. I think I said my daughter was 18, and yeah, as much as I don't want her growing up, she's 19. So I do apologize if she watches, or I'm sure, she'll see it, or dad will catch it or something. So she won't want that. But yes, I had all three natural, which, I actually loved being pregnant, like every moment. And it's crazy to think too, because none of ours were planned, even though I was on some type of birth control at some point with them.
Okay. They failed.
So all of them, yeah, with all three. So they were surprise babies, as far as like we weren't planning on definitely Marcus getting pregnant during law school. That was never a part of the plan.
Right.
And it was beautiful. Like I didn't have any crazy morning sickness. Yes, I gained weight, but I loved the glow. Like you said, I just loved, knowing that I'm creating a life inside of me was amazing. And all the kicks and the butterflies and everything. Like, we always put headphones on my stomach because music, we're a very music oriented family. And so that was something. I mean, we always spoke and prayed over our kids before they were born. But as much as we wanted a midwife at the time, it wasn't available to us. Like, and insurance doesn't pay for it. And so we with our daughter, we actually had a midwife because we were paying more out of pocket because we were in between insurance at that time. So a lot of it we were paying out of our own pocket, and that was expensive. And then by our third, we actually, as much as we wanted a water birth, and again, insurance doesn't pay for that either, we spent as much time in like the tub at the hospital as we could, because
Okay.
I would have liked to have had a water birth, and Marcus was all for that as well. But I think, there are amazing women out there that are supporting more women. And I think having a midwife and doulas are becoming more popular. And I'm hoping that our healthcare system sees that, because they need to be, insurance should be paying for that.
Mm-hmm.
I do
So-
believe, being able to have a child in your home or wherever you're comfortable, with people who have the experience and who are trained, I think that's important.
Right. So from both of you have children, 18, your older ones. I want to kind of focus on that just for a minute, 18 and 21. With your first experience, we learn a lot. So I know that we learn, we grow, we adjust, and we adapt. With your first one, did you feel like you had the type of care that you wanted, and how hard was it for you to advocate for, like, let's say, pain medication or the type of care that you wanted, during your pregnancy and during your birth? Ronye, did you find it hard to advocate for yourself then, and did you get better at it with by the time you had your third one?
The first time, for my first pregnancy, I was 21 when I gave birth to her.
Okay.
I honestly didn't know much. They came to me and told me, you're going to be induced. I didn't even know I had rights. In fact, I'm just learning about these things right now. Like,
Hmm.
you have the right to say, this is my placenta. I'm going to keep this placenta for encapsulation. Like, so many things I'm learning this time that I had no idea about.
Hmm.
So now I'm able to kind of speak up for myself and say, what are the risks? What are the benefits? What are the alternatives? And kind of understanding that it's supposed to be advocating for me. Like, you're not supposed to be scheduling something, a C-section or induction, just to clear your schedule,
Right.
for me to have a baby when you know that I'm going to have the baby, as opposed to me going into labor naturally. So to be honest, I was so young. I did not. I just thought it was what it was, and I just kind of did what they said to do. So
Mm,
there's been a lot of growth, um, with that respect, and also with me. This year I learned so much as a mother with an 18-year-old. That's a whole nother subject that I would like to get into. But as far as uh, this subject is concerned, I'm learning a lot about rights, and what I can and what I can't do.
right. Stacey, how did you have adequate let me ask you this. Your first pregnancies delivered by male or female?
Females.
Female. Was your doctor a male or female, Ronye?
Female every time.
Really?
I
Okay.
I
I love
think
Female
I think I did
every
like
time.
um there was I saw a male doctor at one point, like I remember, but I think all of the doctors that delivered were female.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you find it easy to advocate for yourself with the female?
I mean,
Stacey,
I didn't I much like Ronye, like I didn't know and I don't think it was ever really up for a whole lot of discussion because I don't think as women like we know enough to advocate for ourselves, like to say like I was especially with with my second, like I knew when my water broke, like I was going to have this baby quickly. Like I just knew. And so we
really?
called our midwife and we let her know. And she was like, okay, well, this is your second. It's probably going to be a little bit. Well, it wasn't. And actually, to be honest, she didn't even make the delivery. She had one of her other midwives that were there for the delivery because our daughter was so fast being the second one that but I just knew my body. And so I think that that's something too, like as women we know what we're feeling. And so there's times that like people want to tell us, oh, it's normal or but it's like I know my body. And I think it's hard to in as women, like we have men making decisions for us, you know, and I want to say like in regarding healthcare and abortion and they don't know, they're clueless, like
Right.
they don't know what it's like to have cramps. I mean, with having a daughter and in between the two sons, she's very vocal about her menstruation cycle, about how it feels. And I was never open about that. I was always like I shared with my mom, I'm not feeling well, but it wasn't something I could feel comfortable sharing with my dad,
Mhm.
And so just like those things advocating, I've taught her, you need to speak up. And I think both of us have. But as far as a woman, like definitely you have to do what's right for your body. But I don't think anyone really shared that, and I didn't really know. I think I was just too naive and I just took everything for granted.
Right.
um
I think it was taboo back then. Our parents
mhm,
didn't talk to us like we
mm-mm,
talk to our children now.
yeah,
And there were certain subjects that just weren't broached, even though we were probably, I wasn't. I had my first daughter, my first child, a girl, when I was pretty young. I was just graduating from high school when I had her. So, but there were still subjects in our homes that we just didn't talk about. And so, we're now having those conversations and feeling more comfortable having those conversations with our children, which in turn gives them the opportunity, like you said, Ronye, to be very vocal. Or I'm sorry, Stacey, you said be very vocal about, what's going on with our bodies. And quite honestly, the boys should pay attention, especially if they plan on having wives and, being a little bit more understanding. I remember hearing horror stories about women, back when I had my first one, who said that during her delivery, she had been in labor for close to 23 hours and was pushing and pushing with no resolve. And it was just very painful for her. And a male doctor screamed at her and said, she was screaming. And he told her, shut up, stop all that screaming. This can't possibly hurt that much.
Wow.
And this is way back. So I thought, surely today they can't still be saying that.
No.
So I mean, have you heard of horror stories like this? Have you? It sounds like you didn't experience that, but have either one of you had your friends go through anything like this?
I had a male nurse. I never was delivered by a male, but I had a male nurse this last time. And this last time, just like Stacey said, like I knew I was kind of trying to arrange my house, and I was like, okay, contraction, and I'm timing them, and I'm at home, and I'm like, I have time to take a shower. So I pretty much felt where it was going, and I knew what was happening. And then finally I said, okay, it's time to bring me to the hospital. It's time to go. I'm ready to have this baby. And I got in there, and the male nurse was, oh, no, you're not. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. And then my kid's father at the time was like, oh, I'll be back. It'll take you a while. I'm going to go get some food. He came back, and I totally delivered the baby. He was like, you don't even look like you had a baby. What happened? That was so fast. I know what's happening with my body. Don't tell me it's going to take a long time. Like, I know when I'm ready, and I'm ready right now.
I had that same experience. Doctor walked in, missed the birth, had a sandwich in his hand because he was peeking in the door. And you learn. We live and learn. Jessica, she said, yeah, cramps are no joke. If only we could show a man on a true level what a cramp feels like. And I've seen those machines that they attach to men, and they kind of give them a feeling. I think that should be a social experiment for every graduating senior.
Yeah. I think, well, it should be part of, I think in honesty, it should be part of some type of health class, because, like women, we're just naturally supposed to know what to do as far as breastfeeding. And, right. We have a class with, to teach us about menstruation, and boys have their class. I get that. But like when you become a parent, everything changes. Like I remember Marcus, and he did a class, boot camp for dads. He took a class, and other than like the classes that we were doing together for breathing exercises and those types of classes, and it was really beneficial. So he learned how to change a diaper and all of those things, even though like he grew up with younger siblings, so he had to do some of those things. But there's all those gaps that you forget how to do things, and there's things that people don't teach you. And you can read a book and you can watch videos and stuff, but it's that firsthand experience. But I think we're not doing enough to educate and to prep our moms or dads as far as to be parents. But I think if we had that machine for all dads at some point, like so they could see, or make them carry like the baby weight. I remember in home ec, like years and years ago, because they don't even teach home ec anymore. No. But like carrying the bag of flour around to help teach you, how much a baby would weigh, and carrying it around. And every now and then you see that, but not really. But I think if dads, understood like the weight that we carry when we're pregnant, and just how being off balance, like we don't waddle because we want to, like because like our body physically can only move certain ways, But I think it would be, Yeah, I think it would be hilarious, but also like a true testament to like go to show like this is what this is what cramps feel like, or this is what what we're experiencing, and they
Yeah.
don't get that.
For sure. I think they definitely need to see what a cramp feels like so they can stop thinking it's all in our minds. And every woman has them to different degrees. I never had trouble with that, but I certainly know what one feels like because of pregnancy. And it's traumatic. I 100% believe women when they have to take a day off from work because it really just overtakes their body. It's painful. You get headaches. Every woman deals with it differently. I think they absolutely need to experience that. Let's jump forward though. First day of school. Ronye, you kind of touched on it, but what do you, and Stacey, you touched on it too. First day of school, what are your thoughts when you have to kick your first kid out versus your third kid out to go to first day of school? Was it different? Did you experience different feelings and emotions, Ronye?
Um, I kind of was a little psycho crazy with my first child, to be honest with you. No one could, you have to take your shoes off in front of my, once you get to the door, you have to put something over your clothes if you're going to hold my baby.
Yeah,
And this was way before COVID. You could not, I had to be there when she woke up. I had to be the first person she saw. I had to bathe her. I just went kind of crazy, overbearing with my first child. And I literally, it probably was a mild case of postpartum when I realized that, look, you need to reach out to people to help you. You can't, I know you want to have a strong bond with your child, but you need to reach out and let people help you with this baby. You can't just be so overbearing where you want to control and I'm the mother. And so once I got to the second one, she honestly barely has baby pictures. It's like it's kind of sad actually. It's like I let go a little more each time. At the same time I'm there, but it's definitely not the same as the first one.
Oh yeah, we realize that
So
they're not going to break.
was school hard for you though then, Ronye,
Yeah.
to let her go to preschool or kindergarten then?
I was definitely one of those moms in the window, like what's happening? And one time my daughter told me, "Oh, Miss Kenya pulled my hair." And I was like, "What? She did what?" She just fixed her little ponytail. And I'm like, "Miss Kenya pulled your hair? What's going on?" So like it was too much. I don't even, it's embarrassing. That's how much it was.
How are you, Stacey? Because your oldest is a boy, so was it?
Yes, but I was lucky because he started school at the school that I taught at because I was teaching at the time. And so for me, it was one of those blessings that I knew, oh, he was right next door. Like I liked the teacher. I mean, I adamantly, and we still have a very good relationship, and she loves to see and check up on like how he's doing. And but we were really excited. We are, we were those parents that we both were there. We wished him well, like, and it was kind of hard for me just because I was starting school at the same time, so we took the pictures like everybody else did, but to like say goodbye, like I said goodbye like early in the morning because I then had to start my own classroom. So that part was different, but it was good. I mean, we were really excited. We've always been those parents to bring our kids everywhere with us. Like after we had kids, our lives didn't stop. They just like began in a different way. And I think it was one of those things that we just felt like we needed our life to continue and we wanted our kids to be a part of everything that we did. And so we took our kids out to dinner, and even if it was a fancy restaurant, we'd have the baby carrier, and we'd give them a bottle or whatever they needed. And if I had to breastfeed, I'd cover myself and breastfeed. Like it wasn't anything different. And so it was one of those things we had to learn as we went, obviously. Like movies. We tried, and if it didn't work out, then we left. But we still, life was just continued with us. And it was, that first one was a little challenging, to say, oh, you're off to school, but we just viewed it as an exciting moment for them. I think it was, the hardest part was like going to the daycare the very first time. That was hard for me. But school, we were excited about it.
You get a little nervous with that daycare. I did everything possible to not have my children go to daycare. My first two were daycare kids, and my boys were not. And so I understand that. Now, thinking about school, did you ever have an encounter with a teacher that you found pretty difficult to advocate for your child? And was it due to race, or was it due to something that you could put your finger on, or was it something that you think that the teacher was singling them out? Do you have any stories about, them having to advocate for your child in school? Ronye?
I've had a couple situations that come to mind. The most recent one was with my middle daughter. And I have them in a pretty mixed school. It's a pretty mixed population on that campus. One of the little girls that she was playing with, her mother told her, "You need to stop playing with River. You need to find somebody prettier who doesn't look like her." And when she told me that, I immediately, Mama Bear, like, what can we do to resolve this? Because it's a pretty progressive school, and they're in solving circles and things like that. Like, how do we rectify the situation? I think the teacher should be involved. What's going on? What can we do? So I reached out to the teacher. I did not get any kind of let's get together and talk as parents and teacher. And then that next day, the parent came on campus and offered my child $5 as opposed to apologizing for her behavior. So that was the biggest, I want to say it politely, that was an opportunity for me to teach her. I had to tell her about, look, this is what you do not exchange money in exchange for respect. She should have taken the position to apologize for her behavior. Instead, she thought it was appropriate to offer my child money. So I said, just take that money back, and let me get you to understand something. Number one, I need you to know that you are beautiful. And I've been telling them that since they were born, but I feel like sometimes you have to build them up for a world that's going to bring them down sometimes.
Sure.
So you can tell them as much as you want, but then they get to the real world and they kind of counteract what you've been teaching them all their lives. But that was a rough one for me.
Wow. Stacey, how do you feel? I know with what we have to watch in media today, it's not like what we didn't get to see this back when they were younger. So not having the cameras on, did you have any situations that you had to advocate for your boys and your daughter?
Well, my kids are biracial. Mm-hmm. And so that right there was a little bit different because I think, we tried to always live in a place where it was very diverse and get them, like, we're fortunate we got all three of our kids in a school that's very diverse as well. But yeah, there were definitely, I think they've all had instances. I would say, unfortunately, I would say, unfortunately for my son, my youngest, maybe, he was targeted to where we had moved schools from Aurora, and he was actually going to a school with me when I was teaching up in Brighton. And he had a teacher who didn't believe that he was fully learning math like he should. And he had always been excelling in math. And he actually, at one point, they called it fluid movement. So at one point he was even doing like in second grade, he was doing like third grade math, and third grade doing fourth grade math. And so when it caught up to him in middle school, because this was in middle school, he was one of only a few minority students in that particular school. And he moved to that school with me for a change, because again, it was middle school. So he was, I think, ready for a little bit of a change. And there just got to be kind of some stuff going on at school. And so I think changing out of that school, he felt like that was a good environment for him. But in all reality, like, we weren't happy with the situation, because again, the teacher just felt like he wasn't capable of this type of math that they were doing. And we're like, because she was having behavior problems with him. And it was because he was bored, because he already knew the information, and she viewed it as he's that problem child because of his behavior. And I think sometimes that's the unfortunate thing that happens with a lot of biracial or our Black students. They get labeled a certain way because of their behaviors, but it's a lot of times behaviors that teachers don't know how to address, because they're not looking at it in the right situation. They don't know the background. They don't care to build those relationships to understand the backgrounds or take the time. Maybe they care, but maybe it's taking the time.
Did you have to advocate for them to test him? Did you get him tested to see if he could move up, or
we didn't? We advocated multiple times, because at that point, like, he had already been tested, so he was already labeled highly potential, which was on that verge of the GT. But we advocated for him to get a different spot in the classroom, for him to do different things, because this teacher wasn't really wanting to budge much herself. And again, I was a teacher in the school, so I was trying to be as vocal as possible, but still maintain my own job. And so there were times that then Marcus had to get involved. And we ended up at the end of the year, like, we made it through the end of the year, but then we pulled him and he went back to his other school, because we felt like he wasn't getting what he needed, and it wasn't getting anywhere. And I was trying to do so much, and but the teacher was really pushing, and we just didn't have a good relationship. So that was hard. Yeah, but I think all of our kids at some point have felt something.
Have come up against a teacher like that, where the label and the prejudgment stops them from being able to excel at their pace.
Yeah, and I think because of it, I mean, he didn't flourish as a student in her class. Like, he could care less. Like, he wasn't getting anywhere. She wasn't willing to go anywhere. And so he did just the minimum of what he had to do. And, because of it, I think academically then when he shifted, he was kind of playing catch up a little bit, but because he was fine. Like, he knew the material, but he wasn't going to give her that satisfaction.
It's a struggle. It's amazing that you, with even biracial children, you could see that there was something going on. It was more of a teacher's prejudice versus, the basic need of the student, and that really does seem to overshadow a lot of potential in education. And he didn't experience that when he went back to the other school. Interesting. Let's jump forward again. 18, 21. We have social media now out there that we get to see these glimpses of how our children are treated when they're not with us. Biracial children sometimes are treated the same. Have you experienced any problems with your children being out in the world now as adults? We don't take them everywhere anymore. So now they're out there bringing you stories of somebody who may have, crossed them the wrong way. Have any one of you had to deal with police harassment with your children? Go ahead, Ronye. No, Ronye.
Not police harassment. She just started kind of getting out and doing things this year, her senior year.
Okay.
But there was a situation with one of the school, the campus security guards. I dropped her off a few times, and she would say, "Mom, like, I hate to
College?
do." No, this
High school.
is her senior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I dropped her off a few times, and she would just say, like, "Ugh, I hate going to check in with this particular security guard." And she said it the first time she said it. I'm like, okay, well, what can we do? And then she kept saying it. So I'm like, okay, do you want me to address the security guard? Because she was called, I mean, the security guard was saying, sir or him,
Mm.
referring to her as, you know what I mean, outside of
Mhm.
what she prefers to be called.
Mhm.
And she was like, he just, and then he keeps saying, pay attention, and he's just so adverse with me. So I asked her if she wanted me to step in, and she said no. And then when she went to class, I got out the car and went to go went to go talk to the security guard politely, because at this point she's just doesn't want to, she didn't want to check into school. She was just having this anxiety when it was time to get into class. So I just said, my daughter's telling me that she's having a hard time checking in. She feels like you're purposely giving her a hard time. And I said, do you know who my child is? And just tried to make him familiar with the situation. And he apologized and said, I don't do that. Most of the time my head is down when I talk to students, and I'm trying to look at, because they have this little school pass thing for COVID. So they have to like match databases and make sure they're cleared to go on the campus. So he just kind of apologized, but she felt like she was being picked on, based on how she looked.
So it
Um,
was a matter of just getting a different understanding with the security guard who
I
gave you
think so.
a reason as to why he was coming off that way.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
think a lot of times, unfortunately, what happens is when you have busy parents and they know that you're not, or they don't think that you're involved in the students' lives, they feel that that's an opportunity to kind of do whatever they want. Sometimes you have to show your face, just like Stacy was saying, like she already worked on the campus. But imagine people I've been a single mother for years now. So imagine all the parents just working super hard, and we can't barely show our face to let them know, like, look, I'm involved in this, in my child's life. Treat them with respect.
Right.
So I think that's a problem in general. But
Yeah.
yeah, we came to an understanding, and I wasn't rude or anything. I just wanted to make it clear that she felt this way, and
Mhm.
please accommodate her feelings.
But sometimes that's the conversation that we have to have. And then, like I said, of course, he gave you a justification. So we're thinking that it's happening one way, but when he told you, "Oh, I have my head down, and this is what I'm trying to do at the same time," you get a different understanding of, okay, so it's not being done maliciously. Stacy, boy, having a grown boy in today,
Mhm.
does it scare you with seeing everything that we're dealing with out there, and how you just dropped him off to college, didn't you?
Uh, well, he's a junior. He's
Oh,
a junior
okay.
in college, but
Okay, so he just dropped him off.
yeah, it's still, I mean, two boys, because then our youngest again is 16, and he's, getting ready to drive. And so, we've had lots of conversations about safety in a vehicle, out of a vehicle, just like how you act. I mean,
You have to have that
and I think,
conversation. You
what's
have to have
that?
that conversation. You have to have that conversation, like every parent of black children has to have,
Hmm.
how to behave for police
Hmm.
officers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because I mean, my kids identify themselves as Black,
Mhm.
and they're very proud of, both, Black and white, because it gives them kind of a different experience than other people. But I mean, my oldest, he has a big afro. He's
Mhm.
grown his hair out. He's very proud of it. I mean, it's beautiful. I love it. And
Mhm.
you know, he is going into an industry. He's going into the hospitality industry, and so there's a lot of, is it appropriate for you to have an afro and, be natural with your hair in that type of industry? unfortunately, my family has history with hospitality, and they disagree. They feel like he needs to clean it up a little bit, and there's different ways that, yeah, he's braided it, and again, he looks amazing when it's braided as well. And so I think that there's different things that, yes, he can do, but he's not going to change who he is. And so have had lots of, can be stressful conversations with other people about that, because he needs to choose what he wants to do. Yes, we want him to be safe, and we want him to be respected for who he is, not what he looks like. And his hair shouldn't define him. It's his personality, and it's the skills that he has, just like, our daughter. She also, like, she is trying to get into a field that, she's looking into fashion and, business. And so, being Black and, being a model, can you get into that industry, if you're not tall, white, and blonde hair? You see a lot of that. And so they both have experienced some different things. And so we're just trying to educate them and give them, the best way to handle difficult situations without letting your temper like go up, which our daughter flares up more than our son. But definitely just, I think more than anything, providing them the education to be strong, believe in yourself, don't let other people define you. But it's definitely scary. It's scarier now than I think it ever was before.
So we have a question from a viewer who wants to know, do you talk to your kids about cheating? And I would have to clarify, cheating with them, cheating in a relationship, or are we talking about cheating at school? I'm going to go with the first one, cheating in a relationship, because I'm guessing that's where we're going with this. Do you talk to them about relationships and infidelity, or can't even call it infidelity, but cheating? What do you do with that first broken heart?
I think with boys, it's
a little bit. We're talking about cheating in school, so I'm going to take that back. Let me clarify. Cheating in school.
Yes. I mean, as a teacher, for me, I'm going to jump in, Ronye. Sorry. I'm going to jump in and say yes, because it's really important that, to know what you're doing, and, to be honest. Now, yes, there's different ways to be, sly about different things, but yes, we've had conversations, and we've taught our kids that they need to be honest and truthful about who they are, academically on paper, and, and show their true skill set.
Ronye, do you have that conversation?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's you're really cheating yourself. Like, even I teach my kids about lying and things like that. It's like, number one, you're defining your identity, how people are going to look at you, and number two, you're stopping your own growth. So it's like, is this really what you want to be known for? Right. And perhaps you might need the thing that you're cheating on later. Like, what are you going to do when you're, I don't know. I just feel like there's no fruit there, and I've done that many times.
Right. I didn't encounter cheating with my children. They typically didn't. And I think it was never really a subject that we had to talk about. I never received any information from any of the teachers that said, I caught, your daughter or your son cheating in school, and I know that he's cheating. I think if I did get that, I would definitely want to verify and make sure that it wasn't just something that they thought was happening. I did experience that when I was in school. I happened to be sitting next to someone. I don't even remember who I was sitting next to, but I remember having a test that I got an A on. And the teacher didn't believe that I got that on my own merit. So the very next quiz that we took, she forced me to sit in the corner because she thought I was a cheater. And so, of course, at that point in time, there had to be a conversation with my parents and my teacher, because you don't just assume just because I get an A on a test that I'm a cheater, and which I didn't. Actually, I think finally studied that one time, but it shows you what to do when you study. But my children, I didn't have to have that conversation. However, it seems to be an issue where teachers think that minority children cheat, just without having that, thinking, without verifying that they're cheaters. And so,
like, how do you have that knowledge, or like,
right, how are you that
because
smart?
yeah, I think a lot of times, unfortunately, again, it goes back to that bad rap, is because sometimes their actions, they might not have to put forth the work ethic. It doesn't look like they're studying, or they might naturally just be good at it.
Mhm.
And I mean, all kids are like that in different things, but I think, like my boys, they didn't have to work that hard in math. I mean, all three of our kids were actually in math competitions, and did really well.
Right.
And so they had to show themselves that. But I do agree that there are times that in education, I think a lot of times behavior and academics, they're like, oh, you can't there's no way you can know that, or how did you get that answer without
that's a mental map from the teacher that needs to be changed. That's
Mhm.
their mental hang up. So the same person who asked, how do you talk to your kids about cheating, he or she, I'm sorry, I don't know, so my apologies, wants to know about relationships, cheating in relationships. And one of the final questions is, how do you talk to them about their dad cheating as well? Ronye, I'm going to let you start on this one, because as a child psychologist, what do you say to to a parent who is trying to, maneuver or go through that obstacle course of a relationship themselves and a cheating parent or a cheating uh, partner, and how you discuss that with the children? Should you discuss with your child?
The question is, how do you talk to your child about the situation of if you're in a relationship and someone is cheating, or if the child is in a relationship with someone that is cheating on them?
I'm reading it as you're in a relationship and the dad is cheating. How do you talk to them about their dad cheating?
I think that's a
all the information I
situation
have.
where that's kind of rough, because I've always had the philosophy as a single parent of, do not tarnish the other parent's image, and to let them come to the truth. I personally don't feel like a conversation that you have to have unless they put the child in the middle of the situation. But still, even then, you just want to tread lightly, because I just never felt it to be my position to show my child who their parent was as a person. I'd rather let them come to it, because a lot of times what happens is it backfires anyway, and they'll blame you for, I just don't think that's but what I would suggest is marriage and family therapy. That helped with my situation a lot. What a MFT can do is kind of take the family as a whole and give therapy, and also break them up into pieces. And it's very helpful. So I would make that suggestion. Yeah, I just don't think it's the place to kind of have that conversation. I don't see how it would go well.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think it's appropriate to put children in the middle. Stacey, what would you add to that? Do you have anything? Do you have something different? What would you add?
Yeah, no, I agree with Ronye. I think I've worked with, now currently I'm working with families that do work with lots of different therapists, and some that do work with therapists that you're talking about. And it is very helpful, because I've seen the opposite, where the kids do get involved, and it's like it's tarnishing the relationship that the child has with both of their parents in actuality. Like the one parent to learn about is telling them about, you know, their dad or mom, whoever is having this other relationship. And it's, you know, feeding information into the child that, you know, they're not aware of. They don't have that firsthand experience. Maybe they do at some point, because maybe they were the one that caught dad or caught mom, you know, on the phone, or saw them or something. But I think they need to learn about it by themselves, because if it is the other way around, yeah, I think relationships do get tarnished. And working with kids that are working with therapists now, you know, it's a hard, difficult process to get through. You know, they have, and they're teenagers, so working through those feelings when right now they're supposed to be developing feelings of how to properly have a healthy relationship with someone else themselves, and that's really hard. And so I think for us as parents is, you know, we've tried to do our part to, like, you know, just teach our kids to how to respect other people, you know, how to handle differences, knowing that everyone is not going to, you know, have the same feelings, same perspective, and being open to those different perspectives and new ideas, to love a person for who they are and what qualities that they have. I think, you know, Marcus and I have done, I feel like, a good job of instilling those things that hopefully, you know, when our kids truly decide to have some serious relationships with people, you know, we'll hopefully see them treat those people, you know, the way that we feel like we've taught them to treat people. But I think it all depends on, like, are we as parents educating and having conversations about what a healthy relationship looks like, and even unhealthy. If it's an unhealthy relationship, is that boyfriend texting all the time and demanding all of your time and doing things like those are conversations too. And I don't think parents have enough conversations about relationships in general with their kids. They just kind of let them happen and then have conversations as they go. But I think there's lots of education up front that we should be having.
I think you're right. I think that there needs to be a line drawn, though, on how much to share and how much to talk to your child about. And I wanna first say that I'm so sorry that you're going through this. This is a person on YouTube that's interacting with the show, and I can't imagine what you're going through. She has written in to say more that, you know, it was her 11-year-old who's given her the information about her the father cheating, and has already met the new woman at the park. And so I apologize. I can't even imagine the amount of pain that you know that you could possibly be feeling. The one thing that I will say is try to separate your child from this conversation, and let the child know that number one, that they are loved. You don't want to, like Ronye said, you don't want to put down the other parent. Because you never know how they see themselves through in that other parent's personality, face, if they look like them or anything like that. So you don't want to damage their self-esteem by putting them down. That's number one. And number two, make sure that you're having a conversation that lets them know that they were made in love no matter what, and that you and the father will work things out, and let them be a kid growing up. So
can I add to that, Stephanie?
Oh, absolutely. Please do. Yeah.
Real quick, I'm sorry. So I was going to say that going through that situation myself, and my kids were really young, and they kind of were just saying the other person's name. And I had no clue until they approached me. So going through that situation myself, I would like to offer to you that the most powerful thing that I'm learning that we can do as parents is, as a mother, be strong in yourself, build yourself up. If they see that you are built up, it kind of bleeds onto them. Empower yourself to maybe therapy for yourself, because they're looking to you for the strength at this point. So I think the most powerful thing we can do is grow as parents, and then they will model that same healthy position that you're taking to strengthen yourself.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be strong. As strong as be strong. Um, don't let this break you. Um, I mean, you've got this, and you know, your child absolutely will see your strength and mimic that. They will emulate that. Um, hopefully, this will pass. This will pass, and you know, you're in our prayers. If you have any other questions, just drop them in the chat. But we're running up on our time here. We've got 3 minutes left in our show that I show from my watch. Looks like 5 minutes on the clock counter. We always like to end with a dope black thought. This show was in recognition of Women's History Month. And so I want to make sure that we are able to get a dope black thought in from each one of you. I love the fact that you know we have a difference here. Stacey, you have biracial children. I have a biracial son as well. So I completely understand what you mean. And my other 3 children are not biracial. They're 100% black. But you know I've been on both sides of that fence where I get to see you know how there's different ways that they were treated. Ronye, let's start with you though. You're having your first boy. Congratulations. You're raising 3 girls, and you spread them out like I did.
One of which is biracial.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. So I mean, we see it, right? And so
The oldest one.
yeah, okay. So you know, give us a dope black thought. What can you say? I mean, we touched on subjects of from conception to you know now that they're ready to leave our homes. What can you say, putting that all together, speaking to other women in their going through motherhood or just you know having their first baby? What can you drop on them?
Okay. I want to say it's a fluid process. It's not, you don't reach a certain point. It's always, you know, a continuous growing process. And that's the beauty of life, is continuing to grow and adjust to every stage of life. Once you give birth, it's, you know, a lifetime. So you want to continue to grow. Also, just know it's not about being perfect. There's no perfect situation, but continuing to expand as a human being is the most powerful thing that I feel like we can do, and be consistent with it. And once they see that we're modeling to them the right way to go. So I think that's it. Just keep on growing with them. Maintain your peace. Find your peace. And once you find your peace, that peace bleeds on to everyone else.
I love it. Stacey, what do you
really
want
powerful.
to say? Right.
I was also going to talk about growing because, yeah, I mean, there's things that even though, again, I have a 20-year-old, I'm still learning as a parent. Like you constantly learn something new. But I think another big thing that I've learned to sometimes you need to just step back and listen, because a lot of times we want to educate and we want to tell them and we want to help guide them. And, you know, they can do so much on their own. I mean, we can't be that helicopter always right there. Like we know that they're going to fall down and they're going to pick themselves up. They will. And they can do it. And so I think sometimes we also have to learn, part of that letting go is like stepping back and kind of being quiet. And so it's been very difficult for me, but I'd like to say I'm slowly getting there, but I think learning to listen is really important too, because we always do. We want to get out there and talk, and but then continue to show them that you love them in, you know, random ways. I mean, I'm that parent that, you know, I think it's important for our kids to see and to hear and to feel love every day. And that can be, you know, if you're not affectionate and you don't want to do the hugs, you know, it can be just even a text message to your kid, you know, as a teenager. I mean, I send my kids text messages in college, you know, hope you're having a good day, or, you know, just because I think that it's important for them to still know that, even though they do, but just to see it is something different. And so make sure that, you know, we're still sharing it, even though that age doesn't matter. They know that we love them, and we have to continue to tell them that and show them.
Don't be afraid to be an advocate too. You know, advocate for your kids. You're their biggest role model. So love to. Well, I thank you, ladies, for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us and letting us, you know, live a little piece of your life and see how things happened and where you are today. I appreciate you so much. Good luck, Ronye.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna start all over again here soon. So good luck with everything. Again, we have Ronye Cox. Kevin Cox is one of the partners who started up Dope Like Thoughts, and Stacey Ivy, who's Marcus's wife, who's also a partner who started up Dope Like Thoughts, on with us today. And we appreciate everyone for watching. And as always, Dope Like Thoughts out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
What is love? It's a drug. Let it rotate, then you get back in it. Calling me an Uber just to hit back to you. Use the cash out like pay, I spend it. Is it really worth the wait? I don't get it.